syempre, uniform na po namin. Hindi po talaga siya inulit.
Wala nang uwian.
Wala na pong uwian. Hindi, ayan. So, ngayon po, yung ating question naman ngayon ay medyo may pagka-academic. Kasi we're going to talk about science and faith because someone asked, ano daw po ba ang relationship ng science and faith? Is it's complicated? Joke lang. Ayan, so they're asking, what's the relationship between science and faith? I think this is very interesting po.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, yeah, science is all about, yung studying nature and, studying the cosmos, studying what can be observed. So basically, it uses certain parang approaches, observation, ganyan-ganyan, making hypotheses, etc., in order to come up with conclusions. Basically, science, okay? And so, pag sinabi natin scientific method or scientific approach, ibig sabihin, we're looking at the what can be observed, what can be repeated, ganyan-ganyan, what can be tested, and only those things, di ba? Before we conclude anything, before we say na, this is what reality is. So yeah, science has a very important role in our lives, and masasabi ko na science has done a lot in helping humankind. Pero as we look at this, as we look at science itself and how it came about, if we are honest enough to evaluate saan nagmula ito, it actually yung method, itatag na scientific method, came into being during the Renaissance period, during the time that people were beginning to get out of yung tinatawag natin superstition, and they're becoming more objective. Tingnan natin yung facts, ganun. Pero saan ang galing yun? Actually, it came from the conviction and the faith that God is the God of order, that He created the universe that can be studied, that He created a world that can be understood. So basically, ang mga first scientists were people of faith, people who understood that there is a God and we can find out what's going on sa world na kinreate niya para sa atin. So yes, so definitely ang science and faith, they are, may relationship,
Yeah.
Hindi siya complicated.
They're in a relationship po.
They are in a relationship, so there's really there's no parang what do you call this, parang
disconnect.
Oo, hindi sila magkaaway. Now, however, when you read the Bible, for example, there might be some things there na parang feeling mo na, is this scientifically true and all of that? But we have to understand na, the language in the Bible is not the same as our language today. Mostly, parang descriptive. As they see it, for example, when they see the sun rise and they see the sun set, they're describing what they're experiencing. They're not scientists, so they're not parang making a claim that the earth is flat or whatever, they're simply saying that this is what we observe, parang ganon, or the stars, whatever, ganyan. So a lot of times people misunderstand, they think na parang the Bible is, parang archaic or parang hindi scientific. But the thing is, the Bible is more often than not, parang literary and metaphors ang ginagamit or whatever, di ba? To describe something na mahirap i-describe. We're talking about spiritual matters. So minsan parang how do you put words into that? So if we are just going to respect the literature of the Bible and not insist na, the Bible is some kind of scientific manual, di man ganun yun. Like for example, the first few chapters rather of the book of Genesis, it's not trying to say na parang, okay, this is hindi Galileo yun or whatever, right? Parang it's describing, how God created the universe in a way that could be understood by people during that time. Okay? And so so yun. And I do believe na as we become more and more, sabihin natin, knowledgeable about nature and all of that it would not disprove, the Bible. It would simply basically affirm what the Bible has been saying, and this applies to all areas of our humanity.
I just remember po isang quote sa book na nabasa ko. He said that a design means that there is a designer.
Precisely.
Kumbaga po, parang it's just, the things on earth doesn't came from like an explosion. Kumbaga po, meron talagang tao na nag-design nun. And it's obviously it's God.
Right,
from the creation.
And science would not have any basis kung walang ganun. I mean, if there's no God who created the universe and put some order, how can you study anything? how can you study, di ba, the human anatomy or whatever. The only way you can do that is if you have a presupposition that there is a creative God and intelligent God who just came up with these wonderful things that we can all see under the microscope. Parang ganun.
And parang ang isa pa pong magandang bagay doon is that yung mga creation, it's unique with each other. I mean, even us, we're unique and God made us. So parang ano po siya, parang kung isipin mo na we are randomly made, that's parang kind of...
Right. And considering, for example, people can be creative, di ba? We can be creative. Just think about it. We can create music, we can create arts or painting and whatever. I mean, if we can do that, di ba? And obviously, pa nakakita ka ng painting, di mo sasabihin na, wow, I'm sure yung mga molecules na yan, nagdikit-dikit na gano'n, di ba? No, you won't say that. You say, wow, there's a painter behind that. So in the same way, we people, we human beings can do a lot of creative stuff and we can all admire it. And so why can we not ascribe the same kind of intelligence and creativity to what we observe, di ba? Like just looking at the mountains, looking at the stars, we would say na parang, wow, God did this, di ba?
Alright. I think medyo nasagot naman po yung mga itong question niya. So basically, ang sagot po talaga dito is that faith and science are actually connected with each other.
Yes.
They're not in parang point of war with each other.
Hindi sila complicated.
Yes, hindi sila complicated. In a relationship sila. Ayan. So, ayun po, last take about this question or...
Well, para sa akin, as a Christian, you can be a scientist, you can be a doctor, you can be a chemist, an astronaut. You can be very much a part of science, okay? And it does not parang contradict faith. It does not contradict my belief that there is a God who cares. There's even, for example, mga doctors, they do their best and then at the last moment, tanongin mo sila, Doc, what do you think? They would say, it's all up to God, because they can only do so much, di ba? So, I think if we see it that way, there's no problem with science and faith.
Okay. Thank you po, PB, for answering this question. So, if you have follow-up questions, comment down below or message it on our inbox. So, thank you guys. Bye-bye.